also joining us is Ukrainian journalist Maria Romanenko and her partner Jez Myers, who fled Kyiv, making the perilous journey to the border before arriving in the UK to start a new life. Good morning to you, Maria. Good morning, Jez. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Firstly, I wonder, Maria, whether you've had 5 minutes just to settle, look around and assess how it feels to be somewhere safe, and do you feel safe?
Good morning. No, I haven't really had much time to process anything. Like, I've been asked questions like, so how does it feel to be in the UK? And I'm like, I still haven't processed events from 9 days ago. But yesterday, as we were having dinner, I literally started like breaking out in tears, because that's when I think I started hating what has happened. And I was so kind of calm and not really, doing that before, only for the reason that we were just so busy and sort of on the move all the time.
I mean, I suppose that often happens. That's classic shock, isn't it? When the adrenaline starts to dissipate, the full horror sinks in. Tell us about your journey to get here. We think we can imagine how horrible it is, but I'm sure it was much worse than that. 40 hours it took you. Tell us about that journey.
Yes, so we started from Kyiv, where we were on Tuesday morning, and then after hearing reports that something would happen overnight on Tuesday evening, Tuesday night last week, we went to the outskirts to my dad's place, stayed there overnight, and we woke up. We slept soundly, we didn't hear anything, but we woke up to the reports of the whole of Ukraine being attacked in different areas. And that's when Jez, my partner, said, we need to get out of here, we need to go to Poland, we need to go to Lviv first and then to Poland. So I just kind of had to follow him. My family was like, well, you can wait it out somewhere, you can be in remote locations, stay in our summer house. But Jez was like, no, I'm going, I don't care what it takes, I'll walk if I have to. So I just followed him because I just couldn't bear the thought of being separated during such a time. And then we made our way to Lviv, which took us 10 hours, and stayed there for a couple of hours. And we woke up at 4 a.m. and set the course for the Polish border, which took us 6 hours to reach the pedestrian border, and then a further 23 hours of being on foot, queuing, without toilet facilities, without water, food, and on foot all the time, when lots of people are getting sick because it was overcrowded there and absolutely unsafe.
So 23 hours waiting just to cross into Poland. I can't imagine how that felt for you, Maria, and equally looking at the people around you, who I'm sure many of them would have been older and probably less mobile and less well than you and Jez.
Well, I'd say most people who were there were just women with children. But they were really worried about their children. There were lots of arguments of who should be let through first, and how their children are getting crushed, and there should be a corridor for children. There are also lots of international students. I would say these are the main two demographics that we saw. A couple of older people, but not many. I think most old people are staying behind, because for them it's like their home, and they just, well, if I go somewhere, it's a new country for me, what I'm going to do there, then this is my home. So it was mostly like younger people. So we didn't really see many old people.
And when you eventually made it across the border into Poland, how did that feel? Was it just an overwhelming sense of relief?
Yeah, it was absolutely overwhelming, because we were greeted so nicely there. We were made to feel so welcome. There were people looking after us. There were people giving out free food, free sandwiches, soups, cakes, tea, coffee, water. And there were people offering free rides, free accommodation. And there were volunteers walking around and making sure that everybody has what they need. And they were just like, came up to us. There was a woman who was kind of, found us, and she was like, do you need some food? And it's like, there's 2 sandwiches. Oh, you don't eat ham? Okay, there's 2 vegetarian sandwiches, 2 ham sandwiches, and would you like some coffee? Like milk, sugar, and then she just gives me 2 cups, and it was just so quick, and you just don't even have the time to process what's going on. It was just absolutely overwhelming. It was so nice. Poland in general has just been so lovely, and then Ukrainians there get free travel, free trains, free travel within Warsaw as well. It's just been amazing, the way we were accepted there.
That's a wonderful thing to see, that humanity in itself, I'm sure, when you're fleeing something that must feel beyond inhumane. Jez, for you, I mean, Maria, Ukraine is her home. You love her, so you're there with her. But of course, you are English. You have a unique perspective, I guess, on this, don't you, as you travelled with her? What were your fears and concerns and the reason why you thought, yes, now's the moment to flee?
So I think the easy way of looking at this is, prior to being in Ukraine, I'd managed to convince Maria, who didn't want to leave Ukraine at any stage, to go on holiday to Poland with me. So we're in Poland, and after 8 days of being there, Maria decided that she wanted to go back to Ukraine because she thought that the threat wouldn't be so high. And as a result of that, we woke up the following morning to find that there had been bombings all around us. So at that stage, I thought, right, well, we just need to get out. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And like Maria has just said, she was offered the option of staying in the countryside. But had she chosen to do so, we'd be trapped in the country now because the routes and the options to get out there safely, they're just vanishing. They're vanishing by the hour.
And, of course, Maria, I mean, everybody's under threat. Everybody's fearing for their life there, I'm sure. But Maria, you have particular concerns because of your profession as a journalist. You fear you might be on Putin's kill list.
Yes, I think every Ukrainian journalist has that concern, as the US government has previously suggested that there was a secret kill list by Putin of whom he would target first if he takes over the whole country. And that primarily includes Ukrainian journalists and activists. And being a Ukrainian journalist for 6 years, especially writing in English, so for foreign audiences, I think, I would be probably one of those people. Obviously, I haven't seen the list because it's a secret list, but it would make sense if people like me were on it.
We know that the Russians are trying to suppress certainly any sort of free speech wherever they can. I mean, we've got Ian and Jackie in the studio. Ian, you're a journalist. Can you imagine having to leave your home country because you were on a kill list because of your profession, that you weren't going to be allowed to do it?
It's just appalling, isn't it? You can hardly find words to describe it. And I think this whole conflict has resonated with people in this country in a way that maybe some others haven't. People are feeling incredibly emotional about it, somehow connected with it. I mean, I don't have any Ukrainian friends. I have no sort of relationship with Ukraine in a way. But last Friday, watching news at 10, and I suddenly realised I was crying. You think, well, why is that happening? And I think that we did an hour on my show last night on the mental health aspects of this war. And the number of people that were phoning in, texting, tweeting, saying, well, this has made me really anxious. I don't normally feel like this. Well, why is that happening? And it can only get worse. But, I mean, we have that in this country. Imagine if you were still in Ukraine. Oh. And I think part of the difficulty for people to process it, and you will have had this as well, interviewing people in Ukraine in the 2 weeks leading up to the invasion, there was almost a denial that it was going to happen. People genuinely didn't think it was, and life was going on as normal. And then suddenly, your life is turned upside down. I interviewed a couple of sort of 20-somethings. They've been underground for 3 days. They've gone back into their flat. And I said to them, well, your life is never going to be the same, is it? Yeah. How do you process that in such a short time?
And even if you survive without physical injury, that mental injury will be there for decades, won't it? Jackie, come to you in a moment. I just want to ask Maria one more thing. Maria, when you hear that Emmanuel Macron spoke with Putin overnight and came away from that conversation saying that there was nothing he heard that made him think that this was going to end anytime soon, and in fact, worse was yet to come. Do you know what he means by that? Can you imagine what worse there could be, seeing what you've seen?
Well, we know that Putin's got nuclear weapons. We know that there are, that it's a military superpower. They've got they've managed to build a very, very strong military base in Crimea, even, since occupation. So we know what they have, we know what they're capable of. But I think personally that, hearing such comments from the French president, it's just like, but you had the power to not be so neutral like a few weeks ago, because France and Germany have been neutral for such a long time, trying to maintain the Russian relationship. So it's hearing that, it's like, well, you could have done something before and not allow it to sort of go down to such a situation. So it's very, very sad.